How you doing, everybody? Welcome back to Stand Focused for Jesus. I hope each and every one of you are having a blessed day in the Lord Jesus Christ. As you see from the title of the video, we are going to be talking about positive vibes. Positive vibes only. Today is Friday, July 16th, 2021. I got my shirt on. I can explain it to you, but I cannot. But I can't understand it for you. I can explain it to you, but I cannot understand it for you. So let me get a swig of this water. You know I'm a little bit country. Even though I'm from all around, was a military brat, but got the mason jar. Some of y'all know about that. You like, man, what are you talking about drinking water out of a mason jar, man? What's wrong with him? But yeah, I'm going to be speaking a lot of scientific stuff. And I can explain it to you, but I cannot make you, or I cannot understand it for you. The understanding must come from and through the Spirit. So if you want clarity on some of the things I'm going to be speaking about, or all the things I'm going to be speaking about, then say a prayer now and ask the Lord for understanding, because we're going to get real scientific. And we're going to show you that this whole positive vibes, it's pure foolishness. It's amazing how we jump on something without doing any research. Maybe just because I know what I know, but when I hear stuff like that, I'm like, that doesn't even make any sense. That doesn't even make any sense. Doesn't even make any sense from a scientific standpoint. And so those of you who understand science, even basic science, you understand how that makes no sense. Positive vibes only. So this started out as a post, and then it turned into a sermon. So you're going to be seeing me read verbatim my words, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to expound on the things that I said, and also expound on some of the scriptures and some of the other things that people have said that I'm going to be sharing. Positive vibes only. I've been told that a lot of what I post is negative. Let's say it is. And when you have a person like me that speaks on all the negative, on all the things that can go wrong, it should ensure that everything goes right. Without somebody bringing up the negative things that could happen, then how can you prepare for them if they do happen? By the negative being brought up, it should ensure that things go right, because you avoid those negative things to ensure a positive course. So that was the basis of this sermon, and then it turned into basis of this sermon, which turned into a sermon. But it was originally a post, and that was it right there. People that always speak about positive vibes people that always speak about positive vibes only are scientifically unstable reactors going through a nuclear meltdown. Yeah. I'm going to say it one more time. I'm going to break it down. People that always speak about positive vibes only, they are scientifically unstable. According to the very science that they use, the very science that they teach their children, and they support and they want their children to learn, according to their very own science. And in this case, it's true, because we know how they can do with science. But according to their very own science, their science is saying, and the Bible is even saying, most importantly, that they are unstable reactors going through a nuclear meltdown. Why do you think we say those words? Oh, they're going through a meltdown. What's melting down? Their nucleus. So we got to understand what happens when a reactor is unstable, when something or somebody is going through a nuclear meltdown, or to say he went nuclear, she went nuclear, they blew up. In unstable nuclei, the strong nuclear forces do not generate enough binding energy to hold the nucleus together permanently. So they're giving off all this energy, all this power, as they say, right? So fast that they can't even hold themselves together. Stay with me. I know it's early, but stay with me. Too many, listen. This is one you got to pay attention to. Too many neutrons, which are neutral, or protons are what? Are positive. Upset this balance, disrupting the binding energy from the strong nuclear forces, making the nucleus unstable. So how does the nucleus become unstable in layman's terms? Too many neutrons or protons. Now we know electrons play a part in this, but it's too much what? Too much positivity, too many protons, and it upsets the balance. So it didn't say too many neutrons or electrons. It said too many neutrons or protons causes a unstable nuclei, which causes a nuclear meltdown. Positive vibes only though, right? Now the nucleus is a positively charged dense center of an atom. That's why it's too many neutrons or proton. But certain things can happen that throws the balance off. Now we know that the core of it is positively charged, so that makes sense that hey, it would be more too many protons which are positive that causes the imbalance, and not the electrons. But we know the electrons play a part in it, because the electrons, they go in, they go out, they give and take in, and that changes the stability of a atom. Now we're keeping it basic. We can go deeper with the gluons and all these different particles that they have discovered. So again, the nucleus is a positively charged dense center of an atom. The root of nucleus is kernel of a nut. That's what it means. Nucleus means kernel of a nut. So I'm going to break this down. Y'all know how I do. Where we can understand it in what we call and say layman's terms. As Paul said, he spoke with plain speech. So we know, and y'all know that I teach this, we always trying to see the bigger picture. We want to see the bigger picture. But we got to remember that the bigger picture is made up of the smaller pieces. The bigger faith is made up of what? The faith of a mustard seed. So to understand the bigger picture, to understand the sermon as a whole, we have to understand the smaller points in the sermon or message or whatever it is. You see what I'm saying? So this is what we're doing now. We're going to start to break down some of these terms so we can understand it from a spiritual, the Spirit of God, spiritual perspective from the Word of God. So again, the root of nucleus is kernel of a nut. Kernel of a nut. The kernel is the edible substance in a nut, or the stone, the edible part, right, of a fruit, seed, a grain, as in a kernel of corn or meat. Didn't Christ say something about that? About the meat of the word? See, we think about steaks and stuff like that. I'm not saying that he wasn't talking about that, but he was talking more so about this. He was more in line with this. He talked about milk and meat. A baby doesn't go from milk to chicken and steaks. in Turkey. A baby goes from milk to vegetables and fruit. And fruits have kernels, which have seeds. Then they go to meat as a privilege. You don't need meat to survive. Eating meat is a luxury. It really is. It really is. And you see that in the scriptures if you read your Bible and you understand it. So when Christ is more so talking about, and the apostles and prophets are more so talking about the meat, they talk about these fruits and vegetables that are going to make you strong. Because babies can't eat the fruits and vegetables like we can. They gotta get it grinded up and everything and eat it like that, right? Or milk. So now we gotta understand what the nut is, because the kernel is the edible substance in a nut. So a nut is defined as the fruit of certain trees and shrubs which have the seed enclosed in a woody covering. So when dealing with the nucleus, which is generally positively charged, generally it is, we are dealing with the edible substance, the meat of a fruit. So why is this important? Because it is the seed that reproduces. It is the seed that reproduces. You take the seed and plant it to bring forth more fruit. So if the nucleus, the seed, the meat, the edible part of a person is unstable, and their words come out as unstable, because what are words? They're seeds. They're seeds, right? Not just in regards to the word of God, but words in general are seeds. So when their words come out as unstable, then the core of their words are unstable, which means the fruit they bring forth is unstable and corrupt. So when you eat of their words, you literally get radioactive poisoning. I want to read that one more time. The seed is what reproduces. You take the seed and plant it to bring forth more fruit. Remember, we're dealing with the kernel, which is the edible substance in a nut. The nut is defined as the fruit, like the apple. But the kernel would be the seeds in the apple. So you take the apple seeds, because they're all talking about apples, right? And you plant it to bring forth more nuts or more fruit, right? So if the nucleus, the kernel, the inward part of them, right? The part that the demons and devils and the unclean spirits, that's what they're trying to get to, the substance of that person, they're trying to eat that, eat the essence of who they are. That's how they become dead, because the more they eat of them, then the less that they have of themselves. So if they have the less of themselves, then it leaves an empty vessel for the spirits to come in and take over. I've told, I ain't got deep into it yet. I'm excited about this one, if you don't know. I'm excited about this one, because when I was doing it, the Lord was giving me this wisdom, like, oh, that's going to be good. That's what happens. The devils, they come in little by little, they're taking little by little of the essence of the person. Now, they got to leave a little bit there, because if there's a little bit there, there's always that hope. But the person has been given hope. But God can take all those pieces and put them back together in regards to who that person is supposed to be. That's why he says, lost. You're lost. You're scattered. Your parts of about who you are scattered. Excuse me. They're scattered here with this person. They're scattered there. They're scattered everywhere. Think about the relationships you've been through. That person got a piece of you over here, a piece of you there. A piece of me died when so and so, you know what I'm saying, left me or whatever. Or a piece of me died when my mama died. All these different things. You see what I'm saying? But the power of God is able to bring those pieces of you back together. This is where they get the whole Ishtar, you know what I'm saying, Semiramis thing with the body parts and stuff like that. It's the same story, just repackaged. They got it from God. So again, the seed is what produces. You take the seed and plant it to bring forth more fruit. So if the nucleus of a person is unstable and their words come out as unstable because of the words are seeds, right? Then the core, what's inside those seeds, right? That's going to bring forth the fruit, are unstable, which means the fruit they bring forth is unstable and corrupt. The fruit has no choice but to be corrupt when the core of it, the seed of it, the nucleus of it, of where it came from, is unstable and corrupt. So when you eat of their words, when you eat of their fruit that they're giving you, you are what you eat. You eat of it, it becomes one with you. And most people don't have the power or understand what's going on to be able to overcome that. So they are overcome by the power of that fruit, because what does fruit do? Your body breaks it down and it becomes energy, fuel, power. So when you eat that corrupt fruit, you eat their words, and you don't have the power to overcome it, which is why Christ was saying, hey, if you're bid to this place and you know what I'm saying, you can't eat it in faith. It's deeper than food, physical food, y'all. It's deeper than that. That's also why he said when they were coming to have communion, they were eating unworthily, because you had the rich folk, you had the poor folk, but the rich folks, they were clicking up. They weren't taking care of the ones who were without, and they were having the big old party, but the ones who were without, they weren't really benefiting from it. So they were coming in to commune, but they were going home hungry. And God was like, you know, this ain't the way it's supposed to be. So you had really both of them was doing wrong. The ones who had, they weren't taking care of the ones who didn't have, and then the ones who didn't have, they were complaining about what the ones who did have had. They weren't complaining in a righteous way. They wanted to be in their position so they can pretty much do the same thing. It wasn't like, I want to be in that position so I can do better. So when you read that scripture, a lot of them, rather they had the have and the have-nots, they were both being chastised, because regardless if they had or didn't have, their heart still, your heart still has to be in the right place. You know what I'm saying? There are many believers. There are believers out there. I know believers. I talk to them that got way more money than me. So I can't look at them and be like, they got more money than me. They need to give me some of that money, because I want to be where they are at. Now, if I'm in need and I call them up, hey, my cell phone due, you know, whatever, I need to get insurance or something like that, and I know they got it, and I ask them, and they say, yeah, I can't help you, then I have a righteous right to complain. I'm like, but you just told me you got X amount of money. I'm not calling you because, you know, I want some money so I can go trick off. I'm trying to pay my bills. You know, I pay it back to you, whatever. Nah, I can't help you. Then I have a right to complain to God righteously. But I can't complain to God unrighteously, you know, and say I'm doing it in righteousness. So that's what was happening. So again, so when you eat of their words, you literally get radioactive poisoning, because you eat that fruit. And like I was saying, if you don't have the power, or if you're not walking in that true power of God, because sometimes you're not walking in that power and using the power like you're supposed to sanctify that. Like if I'm going out and I'm watching something, I'm listening to somebody, they may very well not be legit. I can do that, but other people may not be able to do it because they're not at that level yet. Because I'm going in with a different mindset of wisdom. I'm going in to do recon or whatever it may be. So I can take in their words, and because of where I'm at on a spiritual level, my spiritual body can process those words, process that fruit that they're putting forth, and dispose of their radioactive poisoning, because I'm greater than them, because he who is in me is greater than them. So what happens is people get too big for their britches because they ain't at that level of education yet. And they say, I can listen to the person, I can listen to that person, but they can't. So they end up being deceived, because their body is not able to handle, their spiritual body is not able to handle what that person that's more mature is feeding them. You see what I'm saying? So tie that into some of the things that you have read in the scriptures. Let the Spirit lead you. Excuse me. Let the Spirit lead you, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So again, if it's old saying goes, you are what you eat, right? And he says, to overcome the strong man, you must first bind the strong man, meaning you must be stronger than the strong man you are trying to defeat. How can you overcome their words if you're not more powerful than the word, because the word of God isn't in you? Well, maybe the word of God is in you, but you haven't brought forth enough fruit. You don't have a lot of covering yet. Your glory ain't shining like that, like others is yet. You see what I'm saying? So how are you going to overcome them? So here's the crazy thing. Again, I want to say that one more time. So when you eat of their words, you literally get radioactive poisoning. Remember, there are many scriptures where Christ talked about that. You know what I'm saying? Poisons in their tongues and stuff like that. Radioactive. We're gonna speak about radioactivity. Here's the crazy thing about positive. So folks don't be researching like they say they do. Especially believers. It's just positive vibes, pearls and chokes and other stuff. Positive was originally a legal term meaning formally laid down, decreed, or legislated by authority. Opposed to natural. You got natural and then you got the positive. So historically, it was a legal term meaning formally laid down, decreed, or legislated by authority. So when they're talking about positive vibes only, what they're really saying is, we don't want your authority over us. What you're saying, your negativity, we don't want to hear it. We're not allowing you to formally lay down what you're saying, your words. That's what it really boils down to. And also settled by agreement. Originally in grammar, it was defined as that which can be affirmed. Hence, where we get affirmations. Yeah, the crazy thing is they don't affirm what they are affirming with facts. How you going to affirm something, but then you're not affirming the affirmation? Doesn't the affirmation have to be affirmed? How you going to have an affirmation? I'm going to do this, but then you don't back it up with what you're going to do. If I say I'm going to go to the store, I affirm that, you know what I'm saying, I know how it goes, but I ain't finna do that. I affirm that I'm going to go to the gas station. Doesn't that affirmation have to be affirmed that I need gas? So I have to go to the gas station? The affirmation has to be affirmed by affirmation. In the mouth of two or more witnesses shall every word be established. But they don't even affirm what they are affirming with facts. I am, whatever. No, you're not. Because if you truly were, then it would be backed up with the facts. It would be backed up with fruits. Even if you haven't gotten to that point, you will eventually get there. Or your body of work would show that that's where that person was heading toward. So, it's crazy. That's the historical definition of positive. So you're dealing with authority. You're dealing with laws. You're dealing with stuff that's legal. So do you really see what they're saying when they say positive vibes only? They don't want your negativity. It's, you've noticed, it's always positive vibes only most of the time. But when it comes to Christ or something like that, then we don't want that negativity around here. We don't want that negativity. Everybody else, oh yeah, what's up, we cool, this and that. But when it comes to the gospel, when it comes to Christ, when it comes to truth, when it comes to what we're speaking as positivity, repent and believe the gospel of Christ, they see that as negative. You see what I'm saying? They see our positivity as negativity, which is why they say positive vibes only, because positive and negative protons and electrons, they interact. So yes, we're coming to them, and what they say is negative, but our negativity, how many electrons that we have, is greater than their positivity. Why? Because the electrons, right? Y'all know this. Go look it up if you don't. Is in correlation with your protons. The protons and electrons go in correlation. So if we have this great amount of electrons, this great amount of negativity, our amount of electrons that we have is in correlation with how many protons we have, how much positivity we have, how much balance we have in comparison to their protons. So even on that aspect, their protons and electrons is still less because our electrons is higher than their protons they got. Meaning that when it comes together, we got more power than they do. We shine brighter than they do. So ain't that crazy that our negativity is still greater than their positivity? Man, we ain't nothing but 26 minutes in. We ain't nothing but 26 minutes in, Lord. Good Lord. So when we look at the word vibe, a vibe is a distinctive emotional. That's what they don't tell you. I love this stuff. I love this stuff. A vibe is a distinctive emotional aura experienced indistinctively. Aura in spiritualism is a subtle emanation around living beings. An aroma or subtle emanation. Now, a lot of stuff that goes on in what we call spiritualism, and even in any religion, a lot of stuff they say, that's where discernment comes in at. Because you have to be able to discern what's real and what's fake. Because every religion you go to, every belief, even if you go to your regular person on the street corner, there's going to be some truth there. But you have to be able to discern what is righteous and what is unrighteous, what is legit, what is not legit. So when they talk about in spiritualism, where's the emanation around a living being, that's true. Because it's deeper than just this. You have this aura about you. It's deeper than that. It's deeper than that. And also it says an aroma. So even in spiritualism, they understand that a person, beings that we're dealing with, spiritual beings also, give off a certain type of smell, or they have an emanation about them. That's why when you get into that stuff, they talk about colors, or these different colors. And it's true, because you have different colors in that color spectrum when you can see in that realm. Vibe is also from Latin, watch this, which means breeze, wind, the upper air, breath, cool breeze, air in motion. The root of that comes from a word that means to raise, lift, hold suspended, invisible gases that surround the earth. Keep that in mind right there. Invisible gases that surround the earth. So that's what vibe means. So you should already know what's going on. When you're dealing with positive vibes, positive energy, you're dealing with something spiritual. Because protons, neutrons, electrons, gluons, all these different particles, can you see them? No. But yet they still believe in them. So when they say positive vibes and everything, They can't see the vibes. They can't see the vibes for what they are right there. Now they can see the fruit of it eventually when it's manifested in the physical, but at first they can't see it. They can't see the vibe. Oh, I see the vibe of you. They're not talking about seeing the vibe of somebody. They're talking about feeling something, seeing something with the spiritual eye. So positive vibes only is spiritual in nature because words are spiritual. Right? Right. Again, vibe means breeze. It deals with the wind, the upper air. Marvel not that I said unto thee, ye must be born again. The wind bloweth where it listeth, and thou hearest the sound thereof. Thou hearest the sound, the vibration, but canst not tell whence it cometh and whither it goeth. So is everyone that is born of the Spirit. An even more interesting and historical definition is this. It gets even deeper, as you hear me say all the time. How deep you want to go? To turn, bend. This is vibe still. Turns around, rolls, as in a wheel. Stir, like, stir. Or ladle, stirring something, turn back, be turned, convert, vibe, convert, transform, because vibrations can transform, they can change you. Remember when God spoke from the mountain? What does music do? Music transforms you. You listen to a song, you feel in a bad mood. You listen to your favorite song, you ain't feeling in a bad mood no more. You going through something with your girl or your dude or whatever, you go probably listen to some music that's dealing with, dealing with that type of stuff that's going to relate to. Or you may listen to some music that's going to get you out of that. Transform, translate, be changed. Versus toward, turn toward, or against. So what it does is a positive vibe. It changes you to be turned towards something or somebody, or against something or somebody. So when I'm saying that positive vibes is spiritual in nature, at its core, and also it's about coming against the gospel of Christ, because their positive vibes, it turns them against the gospel of Christ, which is why they say, when they're saying positive vibes only, they're saying that we don't want your electrons. We don't want your positivity. We don't want your God. We don't want your gospel. We want our positivity. We want our negativity. We don't want nothing that you talking about. That's what they're really saying. Because again, remember, what they deem as our negativity, because it can be negative, speaking on the scientific standpoint, our electrons is greater than their protons. Because the electrons and the protons, they go hand in hand, right? So, again, to be turned toward or against something, to become, to befall, fate, destiny, literally what befalls one. But it gets even more interesting than that. It also means to perceive. I told you it was spiritual nature, didn't I? At its core, at its seed is spiritual nature. It means to perceive, watch out for, to take heed of. So that makes sense when we put it together with the other definitions. So like I told you, you take the smaller pieces make up the bigger picture. That's why my sermons be long, because I be giving you the smaller pieces. It's like a puzzle. It's like a puzzle. You put the puzzle pieces together, then when you, I see. That you see it on a box or whatever, but you still have to put the pieces together. Because when you put the pieces together, then you understand how and why they fit the way that they fit. You have a maker of puzzle pieces. God is the maker of the puzzle pieces. So you're putting the puzzle pieces together so you can understand his grand plan. Again, perceive, watch out for, to take heed of, beware, or a guard, watchman, keeper, to stand in awe, revere, fear, to watch and perceive the spirits around a person. We talk about an emanation or thing and within a person. That's what it really boils down to. Do we got a scripture to go with it? Absolutely. Absolutely. The angel of the Lord encampeth round about them that fear him and deliver them. Oh, taste. Why do we be saying, oh, taste? Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. What? Then when you read something about vibes and vibrations, dealing with words, it has an aroma. Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man that trusteth in him. Oh, fear the Lord, ye his saints, for there is no want to them that fear him. So when we look at that word encamp, told you we at war, didn't I? Y'all didn't want to believe me. I keep on telling you the Bible is a military combat handbook. And the more that you stay around this ministry, the more I'm going to prove it if you don't believe it yet. Because most of you are being slaughtered by the enemy and can't overcome nothing. Because you continue to read the Bible from the perspective of a civilian. You keep on reading the Bible from the perspective of a civilian, even though the Bible that you say you believe says that you are a soldier of Christ. That's why I don't get mad when people be laughing and all this other stuff. We had a war. Again, it says the angel of the Lord encampeth round about them that fear him. So that means that he ain't encamping those that fear him, those that don't fear him. So that means that we must ask ourselves, if God is not surrounding them, if God is not encamping them, then who is? Because encampeth is a war term. Let me prove it to you. Encamp comes from the word camp. So when God's talking about camp, he's talking about soldiers more so. It means to pitch tents or form huts as an army. Let that sink in. To halt on a march, spread tents, and remain for a night or for a longer time as an army or company. So when God is saying the angel of the Lord encampeth round about them that fear him, he's talking about that the Lord is there with his angels, or the angels are there round about us as his army. So when I'm telling y'all, you don't see them angels around me, y'all be thinking I'm crazy. I got a whole army of angels with me. Then y'all be wondering why you be having things happen in your life. When I say something, you're like, dang, yeah, I did it. On behalf of the Lord, I did it. That's why the disciples, so we call fire, rain call fire? Like, no, we ain't doing that. We ain't doing all that right now. Y'all got to get right first. It wasn't the fact that they couldn't call fire down from heaven. It was the fact that they weren't right. Christ was there. Christ was there like, oh, slow your roll. We got much to do. You got much to learn. To pitch tents for the purpose of a siege, to besiege. To form into a camp, to place a marching army or company in a temporary habitation or quarters. The angel of the Lord encampeth round about them that fear him. Rather is the angel of the Lord himself, or rather his angels, he sends them. So what you talking about? What are you talking about? We want to look at the word gas. Gas. Gas is a very interesting word. Gas means empty space. Cool. Cool. Gas also means chaos. What? I'm gonna let that sizzle in your spirit for a second. Turn this vehicle back on. Get a little air. Sip a little water. Gas means chaos. Gas also means proper elements of spirits. That doesn't make any sense, does it? Why would gas mean proper elements of spirits? We'll get to that if you don't know. So again, gas, empty space, chaos. I didn't put it there. You got to extra. Why would gas mean chaos? It's on. It is. I forgot the script how it goes specifically, but pretty much it says, "Is the honor of God to hide a thing, in the glory of kings to seek out what God is hidden," or something like that. Y'all can go look it up. God has hidden these things for us to find, and that's part of our glory. Empty space, chaos, proper elements of spirits, or ultra rarefied water. So they talking about they looking for the elixir of life. They talking about they looking for the fountain of youth. When they talking about alchemy, all this time they're looking for this gas, this ultra rarefied water up in the heavenly realms. The state of matter distinguished from the solid and liquid states by relatively low density and viscosity, relatively great expansion and contraction with changes in pressure and temperature. Staying scientific, right? You know what gas does, right? The ability to diffuse readily. Put all this together. And the spontaneous tendency to become distributed uniformly throughout any container. So, how do we rectify that within ourselves? Proper element of spirits, ultra rarefied water. So it's like a gaseous state. But depending on the pressure and the temperature in the environment, then you can see the form of it. So as the environment changes, then what's in the spiritual, in the gaseous state, blending in with the air, blending in with the wind, as more and more is revealed, then that gas can no longer be as a gas, but you are able to see it for what it really is. Let's continue forward. A fluid, still speaking about gas, it is a fluid in the gaseous state having neither independent shape nor volume and being able to expand indefinitely. So in your gaseous state, in your spiritual state, that's why nothing can hold you back when you're in Christ. Because in the spirit, you can expand indefinitely. Because there's nothing holding you back. But then you take all that, your spiritual expansion, and then it is put into a bodily form. Gases are invisible except when colored. God don't care about no color, skin color. God don't care about skin color. Gases, spiritual things, the invisible world. They are invisible. The spiritual world is invisible except when colored. Because you put that color to it, then you can see the shape of it more. But people say, oh, color don't matter. Okay. Okay. So if the spiritual world is invisible except when it's colored, and we are in essence spiritual beings, now I have a specific color to me so I can be seen. So now you can relate to me. Because if I come to you as a spirit or something like that, you going, oh! The same thing happened with Jesus. They thought he was a spirit. And they were what? They was afraid. Come on, people. And then he, hey, touch me, you know. If I'm a spirit like y'all say I am, then why am I eating? Give me some fish. Give me some honeycomb. So let's go even deeper with it. We're also going to be discussing, if you're still listening, now we're going to get into something a little bit more exciting. The gap fact. Not the gap theory, but the gap fact. Because it ties in with this sermon. We got to define the word chaos. When we look at the word chaos, it means gaping void. And the reason that we're defining chaos was because gas, one of the definitions of gas was chaos. And it was the proper elements of spirits. So why is there a correlation with gas, chaos, and spirits? Again, when we look at the word chaos, it means gaping void, empty, immeasurable space, abyss. Let me make sure I plug this. People say the Illuminati and all the Freemasons, as above, so below. That's demonic. No, it's not. That's true. As above, so below. It's a true statement. When God told Moses to build the tabernacle and the furniture and everything, he built it off of the pattern of what was in heaven. As above, so below. That's true. As above, so below. So when you're looking up, you're really looking down. You're looking down, you're really... There's hell right here on earth, right? Well, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about hell on earth in that perspective, in that aspect. We're going to talk about hell in the sense of hell being in the heart of earth. How do you get there? It's down, right? So you're here on earth, and you have to go through certain things to end up in hell, right? So you look up to the heavens. You want to go to heaven. Most people do. What they claim they do. You have to go through certain things here on earth to get to what we call heaven. Now you got different heavens. You got heaven on earth, which means you can have hell on earth. You got what we call the second heaven. So if you have the second heaven, then you would probably have a second hell. What do you mean second hell? It's not necessarily a second hell, but microcosm, macrocosm. Now we would call it a second hell because most of us, we just think about hell on earth. But if the same thing is happening in the heavens is happening out here, then it's technically the same place, it's just different. It's happening in different realms. I'm trying to make sure I explain this the right way, because I understand what I'm trying to say, but I'm trying to explain it where you can understand it. So we got the first heaven, heaven on earth. We got the second heaven, third heaven. So the first hell ain't necessarily the first hell, and the second hell ain't necessarily the second hell, and the third hell ain't necessarily the third hell. It's telling the same story. It's telling the same story. So you tell me there's hell where God dwells. Not in the way that you understand or you've been taught, if you've been taught that. Why did God create hell? God created hell for the devil and his angels. God created hell for the devil and his angels. God created hell for the devil and his angels. The devil became the devil. He wasn't the devil. He was Lucifer. So when he was Lucifer, there was a need for what we call the hell. But the Bible says God created hell for the devil. He became the devil and his angels. So he created hell because they rebelled. So when we talk about, when you say, are you saying there's hell in the third heaven where the Father dwells? The hell we talk about was the rebellion of Lucifer. His action created that hell. Lucifer is that hell. Well, Satan is that hell because it was created for him. He brought that hell to the third heaven that caused that war. Christ himself even said what? That the heaven, the kingdom of God, suffereth violence until this day. And the violent take it by force. So it's not really another hell, but it could be, because there's levels to it. But it's technically the same place. It's just different realms. The story coming all the way down. You don't get this hell on earth without first getting hell breaking out in heaven. Because what happened at? Kind of, sort of. It happened there and here. But that was in the earth age before us when Satan as Lucifer, when he was Lucifer, was ruling the world. He was what I like to call and say, he was a John the Baptist of his day. He was a John the Baptist of his day. So I want to make sure I break that down because I don't want to cause no confusion. If you still don't understand it, you can pause it, go back and listen to it, or you can just hit me up. Hit me up and you can, hey, can you explain that better? Can we talk about it or whatever? And I will do that as Lord permits, because I do have a lot going on. But I do make time for people. So again, chaos means abyss, that which gapes wide open, that which is vast and empty. So it just depends on the context. To yawn, gape, be wide open. So as I was saying, when you're looking up into the heavens, you see that darkness, right? You have to go through that before you can get to the third heaven. You have to go through the darkness. That's what I'm saying now. You have to go through the darkness before you can get to the light. Isn't there a scripture that says something like that? Hopefully you're understanding what I'm saying, where I'm going with this. So let's get a scripture. Now in the book of Luke, you know about Abraham's bosom, right? He says this in response to the rich man. And beside all this, between us and you, there's a great gulf fixed, so that they which would pass from hence to you cannot, neither can they pass to us that would come from thence. So we can't go over there, and you can't come over here even if we wanted to. When you look at that word gulf, it's chasma. It says it's from a form of an obsolete primary word of chao, C-H-A-O, which is where we get chaos. To gape or yawn, a chasm or vacancy, a impassable interval. Chaos. There's this great, he's saying, there's this great gas, this great gulf, this great gas that there's something there that even if we wanted to get by, we couldn't get by. You can say almost like an invisible force field. It wasn't that there was just this big old big old, you know what I'm saying, innumerable, you know what I'm saying, immeasurable void that they were like, you know, we can't even get through, because obviously, how were they talking? So it looked like, you know, from their physical perspective, it was wide. Because how we perceive things physically isn't how things are perceived spiritually, if you see what I'm saying. They do a lot in movies. You ever notice in movies is they like, I love sci-fi movies. I love sci-fi movies, because sci-fi movies, I grew up on sci-fi movies, and sci-fi movies, they tell you a lot. They tell you a lot. And I like watching sci-fi movies because it helps me to be able to put things in a perspective where people can understand it better. Because I always want to put things in a perspective where people can understand it better. So that's a good thing about movies. So in a lot of movies, you know, when they got these adventure movies, they go on these crazy places, right? And they get to this cavern. It's a big old, you know, big old gulf or whatever. They're trying to figure out how to get over. Now it's not that big, but then when they hit with the right angle or whatever, then it's bigger than what they really saw. And if you really look at it, it's always something spiritual that they have to end up doing, or something spiritual aspect to it, to overcome this great gulf to get where they're trying to get. So it wasn't that there's just this great gulf, because how were they talking to each other? Think about that. From their physical eye, it was perceived that, oh man, this is a big old hole. But from the spiritual perspective, it was like, man, good Lord. Like, so it's kind of like both. I wish I could explain it a little bit better, but hopefully you understand what I'm saying. But it wasn't that it was just that. Something else there. That even if they did find a way to pass over, they wouldn't allow to do it. Because there was it was chaos right there. And we just connected chaos with gas. And we connected gas with the empty space and something dealing with spirits. Do you really know what's going on? See, they ain't gonna tell you all this. Now, this is where it gets really, really, really interesting. So I'm gonna show you some stuff. We're gonna go to the Old Testament. We're gonna go back to the beginning. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void. And darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. How many times have we read that? Now what I'm going to do is, I've already looked the words up. I've already broken the words down. I've already defined the words. So I'm going to input those definitions of without form and void, and I'm going to read it plainly. And some of you know what it's going to say, some of you don't, but prepare yourself. And the earth, I'm going to go back. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth laid in waste. There was desolation on the entire surface. It was like a desert. There was confusion. It was a worthless, vain place of nothing but waste and wilderness. It was an undistinguishable ruin and misery, destruction, death, ignorance, and sorrow and wickedness was on the face of the waters, as looking from above. There was no light in it at all. Now, why in the world would the world be in a state of destruction When God just said in the beginning, he created heaven and earth. That's what they talk about the gap theory. It's a gap fact. Because the world, what we call the pre-Adamic earth age, it was destroyed. It was destroyed. I want you to think about that for a second. God created the heaven and the earth, but then he created and he destroyed it? No, it was already destroyed. When he was talking about in the beginning, yeah, he's talking about overall. Remember, when God's prophesying something, it at least applies 3 times. Past, present, future. Past, present, future. Every single prophecy that you read in the scriptures, it applies at least 3 times. Past, present, and future. The Lamb that was not, and is. Past, present, future. So, when God is saying in the beginning, God he created, he's just not talking about the initial beginning, but he's also speaking about that beginning right there. Because he destroyed the mankind that was during that time. And this is where Atlantis was. Atlantis was right here. Meaning that pre-Adamic earth age. That was Atlantis. So, but Job answered and said, how hast thou helped him that is without power? How savest thou the arm that hath no strength? How hast thou counseled him that hath no wisdom? And how hast thou plentifully declared the thing as it is? To whom hast thou uttered words? And whose spirit came from thee? Listen what he says right here. Why would he say this? Dead things are formed from under the waters, and the inhabitants thereof. What? Dead things are formed from under the waters, under the firmament, and also in the water. And the inhabitants thereof. The inhabitants thereof are the inhabitants thereof are the dead things that are formed from under the waters. Huh. Hell is naked. Hell is naked before him, and destruction hath no covering. He stretcheth out the north over the empty place. The empty place, the chaos, the dark place, and hangeth the earth upon nothing. He bindeth up the waters in his thick clouds, and the cloud is not rent under them. He holdeth back the face of his throne, and spreadeth his cloud upon it. He hath compassed the waters with bounds until the day and night come to an end. The pillars of heaven tremble and are astonished at his reproof. He divideth the sea with his power, and by his understanding he smiteth through the proud. By his spirit he hath garnished the heavens. His hand hath formed the crooked serpent. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. Drop down, ye heavens, from above, and let the skies pour down righteousness. Let the earth open, and let them bring forth salvation. And let righteousness spring up together. I, the Lord, have created it. Woe unto him that striveth with his maker. Let the potsherd strive with the potsherds of the earth. Shall the clay say to him that fashioned it, what makest thou? Or thy work, he hath no hands. Woe unto him that saith unto his father, what begettest thou? Or to the woman, what hast thou brought forth. Thus saith the Lord, the Holy One of Israel, and his Maker, ask me things to come concerning my sons. Ask me. I tell you. Don't ask them. They don't know unless I tell them. And concerning the work of my hands, command ye me. So if you want to know about what is man, you need to go ask the Maker of man. I have made the earth and created man upon it. But God said he created the earth and then all of a sudden it was destroyed. It was desolate. It may not make sense right now to some of you, but it will make sense in a second. Because you may say, well, it was without form because that's how it was at first, and then God made it the way it is. No. I, even my hands, have stretched out the heavens, and all their hosts have I commanded. I have raised him up in righteousness, and I will direct all his ways. He shall build my city, and he shall let go my captives, not for price nor reward, saith the Lord of hosts. Excuse me. Thus saith the Lord, the labor of Egypt, and merchandise of Ethiopia and of the Sabians. Men of stature shall come over unto thee, and they shall be thine. They shall come after thee, in chains they shall come over, and they shall fall down unto thee. They shall make supplication unto thee, saying, surely God is in thee, and there is none else, there is no God. Verily thou art a God that hidest thyself, O God of Israel, the Savior. They shall be ashamed and also confounded, all of them. They shall go to confusion together that are makers of idols. But Israel shall be saved in the Lord with an everlasting salvation. Ye shall not be ashamed nor confounded, world without end. Ye shall not be ashamed nor confounded, world without end. Why would he say that? Now you can say, oh, eternal life. But world without end. And you got to ask yourself, why would he say that when we read the rest of it and you see the context of it? For thus saith the Lord that created the heavens, God himself that formed the earth and made it. So now he's finna go back to what happened. He's bringing this into remembrance. Like, hey, y'all know what happened. But he hid it for those who really want to know. God himself that formed the earth and made it. He hath established the earth that he formed and made. But we just read the earth was without form. So why did he form the earth? He hath established it. He created it not in vain. Well, we just read it was in vain. It was a place of vanity. He formed it to be inhabited. I am the Lord and there is none else. So, bingo. If he said that in the beginning he created heaven and earth, right? The waters were already there. Because I told you space is water. If he said that in the beginning he created heaven and earth, and then we read the earth was without form and void, and the faith, that doesn't make any sense because he just said that he formed the earth and made it. The earth was without form and void. It was a place of desolation. It was a place of destruction. But why would it be a place of desolation and destruction if God is creating it from scratch? Because something happened. I have not spoken in secret in a dark place of the earth. I said not unto the seed of Jacob, seek ye me in vain. I ain't telling you to do what they did. He's saying, y'all heard the stories. They're true. I told you in the scriptures. Don't do what they do. Don't do what they did. I declare things that are right. Assemble yourselves and come, draw near together, ye that are escaped of the nations. They have no knowledge that set up the wood of their graven images, and pray unto a God that cannot save. Tell ye and bring them near. Yea, let them take counsel together. Who have declared this from ancient time? Who have told it from that time? Say, who told you these things? I'm the one telling you these things. I'm telling you what's going on. If I told you, I can explain it to you, but I can't make you understand it. Who have declared this from ancient time? Who have told it from that time? Have not I the Lord? And there is no God else beside me, a just God and a Savior. There is none beside me. I know you need some more evidence, don't you? Of course. For my people is foolish. They have not known me. They are sottish children, and they have none understanding. They are wise to do evil, but to do good they have no knowledge. I beheld the earth. So he's having a vision. And lo, it was without form and void. And the heavens, and they had no light. Didn't God put the lights in the heavens? Don't we read that in the book of Genesis? And lo, I beheld the mountains, and lo, they trembled, and all the hills moved lightly. I beheld, and lo, there was no man. Why would there be man if it was desolate, right? I mean, it wasn't a place that was habitable. And all the birds of the heavens were fled. All the birds of the heavens were fled. I beheld, and lo, the fruitful place was a wilderness. The fruitful place was a wilderness. So it was once fruitful, which is why God told Adam and Eve to replenish the earth. And then he told Noah and them to replenish the earth because he destroyed it. The fruitful place was a wilderness, and all the cities thereof were broken down at the presence of the Lord and by his fierce anger. Remember, I told you a prophecy applies past, present, and future. Well, we know this ain't talking about right now because there's people on the earth. There's people here. When has the earth been without people? From the time that we know about with Adam and Eve, we know the destruction came. Then you had Noah in them. So from the time of Noah's when Noah came and it went through what he went through, when has the earth been without people? It hasn't. And we know even more that this is talking about something in the past, because is the earth going to be without people when Christ comes? No. He's going to kill off a lot of people, but there's still going to be people on the earth. Matter of fact, Christ comes, there's going to be people. When Christ rules and reigns for 1,000 years, there's going to be people. After that, there's going to be people, because he's going to destroy he's going to destroy this one, make a new heaven and a new earth. There's still going to be people. You see what I'm saying? So we know this is talking about what we just read in the book of Genesis, where he destroyed it. But how did he destroy it if there was no reason to destroy it? Because he was creating. He was creating because something had already happened. It was destroyed before. For thus hath the Lord said, the whole land shall be desolate. Yet will I not make a full end. So he's using what happened before as an example. Like, I'm going to bring the same type of judgment, but it's not going to be with water, as you know, it's going to be with fire. Did you know that water is fire? And fire is water. It's a different form of it. Did you know that? Go look at the elements of what make up water. Go actually look up what hydrogen is. Hydrogen is volatile. You ever had moonshine? Oh, okay. You ever had liquor and it burned going down? Why does it burn? What is the base of liquor? Water. It's just hot. If you know what you're doing, you can manipulate it. If you know what you're doing with the water, then you can manipulate it to your advantage. Where we at? For this shall the earth mourn, and the heavens above be black, because I have spoken it, I have purposed it, and will not repent, neither will I turn back from it. The whole city shall flee for the noise of the horsemen and bowmen. They shall go into thickets and climb up upon the rocks. Every city shall be forsaken, and not a man dwell therein. And when thou art spoiled, what wilt thou do? Though thou closest thyself with crimson, though thou deckest thee with ornaments of gold, though thou rentest thy face with painting, in vain shalt thou make thyself fair. Thy lovers will despise thee, they will seek thy life. Because the New World Order is brought in through Israel. Israel is going to make an agreement with the Antichrist. And then the people, they already hate us, right? They're going to be joyful because they're going to be like, we got worldwide peace, and these are the people of God. But when it all falls apart, who do you think they're going to blame? They're going to blame the black folks. They're going to blame Israel, which is why they turn against them. And you see the Gentiles coming against the black Antichrist, and then coming against Israel. And then because the Gentile nations, they come against the black Antichrist. He get mad and turns against Israel and persecutes them. Come on, y'all. They ain't teaching y'all this stuff. Why they lying to you? Why they lying to you? Satan knows who true Israel is. I ain't saying he ain't gonna grab those people in or whatever, but he know who true Israel is. The heaven, even the heavens, are the Lord's, but the earth hath he given to the children of men. So why would the earth be destroyed when he said that he formed the earth for men to dwell on? Because the earth was destroyed because of what it did before in the pre-Adamic earth age. So when we go back, it says, and God said, let there be light. Let me add this before I forget, because I know I'll forget. When we read in the scriptures about darkness upon the face of the deep and stuff like that, and we also read in the very near future when the judgment of God is coming upon this earth and it's covered in darkness, it's the same thing. The same thing's happening, it's a greater judgment. The judgment that God is going to bring upon this earth is going to be worse than the judgment of Atlantis. And that's saying something. That's saying something. Windows, get a little air. The judgment that God is going to bring upon this earth, this darkness he's going to bring upon this earth, is getting darker and darker for a lot of people, is going to be worse than what God did to Atlantis, what we call Atlantis. And God said, let there be light, because it was dark. He had destroyed that time period, that age, that world. And there was light. Now, I'm gonna give you the inside scoop. I'm finna strip away the parables and give it to you plain. When God said, let there be light, it was him telling Christ to go. Go pronounce the judgment upon them and take the darkness take the darkness away. And now we're finna to create. Finna bring it back to the way it's supposed to be, and it's gonna be greater than what it was before. That's why Satan got judged. Remember, Satan had already failed. That's what he failed at. He failed in the heavenly realm, but he also failed when he was ruling over the world. I think the book of Ezekiel and the book of Isaiah speaks about that. So God still allowed Satan to be there. But it wasn't a matter of them being there because Adam and Eve, they had the power. All they had to do was be obedient. They were more powerful than the serpent at that particular point in time. But when the serpent did what he did, it caused Adam and Eve to be less and the serpent to be greater, which gave the serpent authority not only over Adam and Eve, but everybody that came forth from Adam and Eve. And he understood this. He understood this. So God was bringing him down more and more and more and more and more and more. So when you see it says, and God said, let there be light. Yes, he is saying, let there be light. But the deeper wisdom of it is this is Christ coming. He's pretty much telling, go, my son. Go, my son. I've done a sermon on this before. And God saw the light that it was good. And God, what? Divided the light from the darkness. So remember that God works in patterns. So you have the day-night cycle. It's a pattern of something. When you have the dividing of the two, it's symbolizing something greater. So again, and God divided the light from the darkness. He divided it. And God called the light day. We know the Bible speaks about the day star and everything, right? In reference to Christ. And the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. Now, when you keep on going down and you're reading everything that God is doing, you notice something. He said, this is good, this is good, this is good. God saw this is good. But if we just dealing with darkness, just dealing with night, as we know night, when the sun goes down, is that evil? Is it evil for the sun to go down? Or just something greater that God wants us to see? And the reason I say that is because of this. When you go read it, he never says, I haven't seen it, unless you can show it to me. He doesn't say that the darkness was good, the night. He says the light was good, this was good, that was good. But nowhere in there does he say that the darkness that he calls night was good. Now, if we just talking about darkness that we know, that comes upon us and stuff like that, then why would it not be good? Why would it not be good? If he created it, then he created it for a purpose, right? So if we just go on that basic premise, okay, God created day and night. Darkness isn't evil because, I'm going to sleep. I'm the same thing I can do in the daytime, the same thing I can do at night. In regards to, if you're going to do evil or whatever. So there's something deeper going on. Because why didn't he say the night? He said, why didn't he say, I saw the night? I called the darkness night, and it was good. Thou sendest forth thy spirit. They are created. Did you catch that? Thou sendest forth thy spirit, his spirit. God sends forth his spirit, and they are created. So he sends his spirit, and then from his spirit, things are created. And thou renewest the face of the earth. Now, he said that there was darkness on the face of the deep. But you can't get to the face of the earth without getting through the deep, because the earth was swallowed up in water, in what we call, or what I call, a universal flood. A universal flood. That water that flooded, we're going to say, this portion of our galaxy, that water came forth from somewhere else. There was already water there. It was already water there. he sent that flood of water in a way where it flooded out the other worlds and everything. And so when you research space, you find out that space is literally water. I'm not saying that there wasn't always water there in space, but it's not like it was today. It's kind of like you got 3 feet of water. You can see through that. It's not a lot of water. You got a swimming pool or whatever, or a lake, or ocean. It's not a lot of water in comparison to the collective body of waters. So if you bring in a flood of waters, then what? Then everything gets flooded, and a swimming pool turns into a ocean, if you get what I'm saying. So we continue on in Genesis, and he says, and God said, let there be a firmament. Now I'm going to define it. A firmament is defined as a support, a firm or solid structure. But this is where it gets interesting. It also said it's a custom, a statue, law, or throne. Why would firmament be defined as that? Why would a firmament be defined as that? I want y'all to think about that. I already know, but I want you to think about that. Why would they have that in that definition? Because on the surface, that doesn't make any sense. But it's not there for no reason. It's there for a reason. So again, and God said, let there be a support or a solid structure or a throne in the midst or in the middle of the waters. We're going to stick with solid structure for right now. So let there be a solid structure. Let me see. In the middle of the water. So you got water. God said, let there be a solid structure. We're going to use this. It's bootleg, but hey, bear with me. Let there be a solid structure in the middle of the waters. This is the top water. So he separated the waters. So the waters were together, they were mixed. And he separated the waters, and he put a solid structure in the middle to separate the waters. And you got the waters above, and you got the waters below. That's kind of rough, but y'all get my point. Again, we'll read it one more time. Let there be a firmament. Let there be a solid structure in the middle of the waters. Told you it was flooded. And let it divide the waters from the water. So there was water, and there was another water that came. And the waters, they got mixed. Just like you have an ocean, you have a beach, right? And then you have water on the, you know what I'm saying, you got a lake or whatever. You got an ocean right here, and you got a lake over here. And the waters are separated. So he said this solid structure is dividing the waters from the waters. Divide the water from the water. So you have the water right here. You got the water right here, and there's a solid structure in between that's dividing the two. Amazing. And God made the firmament. He made the solid structure and divided the waters which were under the solid structure from the waters which were above the solid structure. But y'all say the earth is flat. And it was so. I don't believe flat earth. I stand by that. I think I have more credibility to be right about the earth not being flat in the way that it's taught than most people, because their track record is garbage. Now, do I believe in a flat earth? Here's wisdom. You see, I'm always fair in my judgment in the things I preach. Do I believe in a flat earth? I do. Do I believe in a round earth? I do. Do I believe in a flat earth the way that they teach it? No. Do I believe in a square earth? I do. Do I believe in a rectangular earth? I do. Whatever shape there is, I believe that earth is or can be that shape. That sounds crazy, right? Well, depending on how you look at it. And that's exactly right. Depends on how you look at something and what angle you look at it. Remember, it's the world is covered in water, so the reflection is going to be different. Almost like a diamond. It reflects light. So depending on how you look at it, if you're looking at it from this angle down, it's going to look flat. If you look at it from this angle, it's going to, it look like a triangle. It look like whatever. So yes, it can be that shape. But as a whole, we know I know and my people know that it is round. But if you're looking at it from the top, then it's not going to look the same. If you can look at something that's round, you can take a ball. If you look at a ball from a certain angle, the ball will look flat. I'm talking about a pumped up ball. If you look at it a certain angle, whatever, some of you know this because you got the wisdom, but some of you don't. If you look at something from a certain angle, it's not going to appear as it is. It depends on how close you are, how far away you are, many different things. This is the wisdom they ain't telling y'all because they don't want y'all to think. They don't want y'all to think. And then this is where the firmament, which is a solid structure, is where we get the term heaven. And God called the firmament heaven. And the evening and the morning were the second day. And God said, let the waters under the heaven or under the firmament be gathered together unto one place. So the waters that were under the firmament, they weren't even gathered into one place yet. That's where we get the sea from. And then he says what? And let the dry land appear. So the dry land wasn't, when he put that firmament there to divide the waters from the waters, the dry land that was under the water, on the lower firmament, the lower heaven, we call it heaven on earth, right? It wasn't even there. Meaning, not wasn't there, but it was there, but it wasn't, you couldn't see it until he caused the seas, the oceans to be formed, for them to be gathered where he wanted them to be gathered. And then the dry land appeared. Well, hold on now. If the dry land appeared, that means the dry land was already there. The dry land was already there, but the dry land was covered up in water because he separated the waters from the water. He put this water up here back where it go, up in the second heaven. And then you got the waters here on the earth. And then he moved those waters and made the seas and the oceans and the lakes and stuff like that. And then you could see the dry land that was already there because he had destroyed the world before. And God called the dry land earth. So what is earth specifically known as? The dry land. It serves as a reminder of what he did. And the gathering together of the waters called he seas, and God saw that it was good. One of the main components of Earth's interdependent physical systems is the atmosphere. Now we're talking about the water above the firmament. So what you have is you have atmosphere, I want to put it, let's get sci-fi with a force field that protects us. It's a solid structure. It's a solid structure. And it keeps us protected from the waters outside of that ball of gas that we are in that protects us, what we call the atmosphere. That's why I know some of you don't believe that we go to space. I ain't saying I believe everything about what they say about space and how they do it and everything, but I do know what's true and what's not true because I'm being led by the Spirit. I do believe that, and the reason, people, we ain't going to space because, then we couldn't even do this. Like, they give mankind the technology that they want to give man. These folks got advanced technology. They can go to other worlds already. Only certain people got access to that type of technology on this world. Like, you don't think these people were capable of going to space? When back in the day, in Nimrod day, they had technology to open up gateways to portals to other worlds. Y'all better study some more. You really think that Nimrod and them was trying to build a tower to reach to the third heaven? A literal tower. Come on, man. The story is deeper than that. They weren't stupid people. They were trying to access, and I ain't saying they weren't building no skyscraper, but that symbolizes something. That's why you see the obelisks and all this other stuff. Them folks were trying to use ancient technology, ancient knowledge to open up what we call gateways and wormholes to dial in a certain address and go there in war. That's what they were trying to do. Same thing they doing now with CERN. Ain't nothing new. Come on, man. Y'all be thinking I be making this stuff up, but then when I say, oh yeah, CERN, they're doing the same thing. The man himself said it. That stuff is coming through. They open up a doorway, a gateway. Now I showed you this. I gave you the sermon. I gotta slow down. I'm getting excited. Getting excited and frustrated at the same time. When I did a sermon on what is it on? Jacob's Ladder. I did a sermon on Jacob's Ladder and I showed you that it's a gateway. It's a gateway. That's what they call gatekeepers. At the gate is a gatekeeper. And most of the time it's a God. A God. Now for us, our gatekeeper, the door, is Christ. It's Christ. Now Christ ain't always there at the door. He got stuff to do. But he got his angels there. He got whoever there he want to have there. And we have the authority because we got the key to go into the house of God. Enter in and out. As he said, my sheep, they enter in and out, in and out. Remember when Jacob looked at the top of that ladder, who's at the top? Christ. Because he's at the head. And so when I did that sermon, I showed you that it was talking about what we call a gateway, or a wormhole. And the reason that the term wormhole is used is because of what the worm symbolizes. And worms, they make holes and stuff like that. But the worm is an ancient symbol. Well, the worm is the serpent is the worm. The worm is an ancient symbol for immortality. Before the serpent, it was the worm. And the worm is supposed to be the little king of the earth. The worm is supposed to be the one that, no matter what happens, it survives. The worm also symbolized through the DNA, the seed. No matter what happens, the DNA, the seed still survives because it's so microscopic. So, I want to make sure I address that. So again, one of the main components of Earth's interdependent physical systems is the atmosphere. An atmosphere is the layers of gases surrounding a planet or other celestial body. Earth's atmosphere is composed of about 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and 1% other gases, according to what they said. Those numbers could be off, but that's not the point. The atmosphere is layers of gases. Don't you remember what we said earlier about gases? Gases and spirits go hand in hand. Nitrogen, when you break it down, because they said 70%, right? Could be higher, could be lower. Nitrogen, when you break it down, means this: to give birth to something explosive that can fertilize and give birth to other explosive things. How in the world did I get that? Well, you have nitro, Nitro, and then you have gen, Gen. There's a dash in front of it, of the Gen. That means to give birth. So we're left with nitro. You take the two together, you have nitrogen. So nitro is dealing with fertilizers, actually dealing with the type of sodium carbonate soda and stuff like that. But I'm not trying to get too scientific and stuff like that. You can go look that up if you want to yourself. But nitro is dealing with something that is a fertilizer or something that's also explosive. So nitro comes from nitre, Nitre, and again is used as a fertilizer and explosive. Nitre is also known as saltpeter. Some of you that's old school, you know about the term saltpeter. Saltpeter is salt of a rock, which comes from combining salt and petra, which means rock or stone. So called because it looks like salt encrusted on rock. Nitrogen, to give birth to something explosive that can fertilize and give birth to other explosive things. The root of it deal with saltpeter. And saltpeter literally means salt of a rock. Fire of a rock. It's just a matter of what rock you come from. Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, take up a lamentation upon the king of Tyre, and say unto him, Thus saith the Lord God, Thou sealest up the sum full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. Thou hast been in Eden, the garden of God. The king of Tyre was in the Eden, the garden of God. The king of Tyre is Satan, who we know as Satan. And the diamond, the beryl, the onyx, and the jasper, the sapphire, the emerald, and the carbuncle, and gold. I did a sermon on this, but I go ahead and plug it for you real fast. These are the same stones that are on the breastplate of the high priest. Satan, when he was Lucifer, he was a priest of Israel. And how can you be a priest of Israel? First and foremost, by being a descendant of Israel. So when I tell you that Satan is going to say that he's Christ, which we know that, he's going to literally lay hold to the lineage. And he does come from that lineage. So if Israel is black, according to the flesh, and we know the Messiah is not white, according to the flesh, what would make you think that a white Messiah would show up and that Israel, who we know who Israel is according to the flesh, would receive him when they don't even receive the white Messiah today? Because that's been, it's being broken down. But if the Messiah is black, Israel would receive a black Messiah, which would fulfill Bible prophecy. And not only that, but also the other nations would receive a black Messiah too, just like they received Barack Obama. Now, I'm not saying it's Barack Obama. I'm just giving an example. So, y'all gonna see. Y'all gonna find out. He's gonna be what we call a black man. Oh, he's somebody gonna say, Well, he look Indian. You know the history of Indians? I ain't talking about the Indians over here. I'm talking about India. You better go study a little bit more. Go study a little bit more. Y'all better go look at them folks. Them folks. Some of them folks are darker than me. So it continues on. It says, the workmanship of thy tabrets and of thy pipes was prepared in the day that thou wast created. Thou art the anointed chair that covereth, and I have set thee so. Thou wast upon the holy mountain of God. Thou hast walked up and down in the midst of the stones of fire. Thou wast perfect in thy ways from the day that thou wast created. So when God created Lucifer, he created him perfect. So how did he do evil? Because evil was already there. He chose to do evil. Satan is not the epitome of evil. Evil is a completely separate being in itself. That's powerful. Because people, when they think about Satan, they automatically think about evil. They're not thinking about evil being a completely different entity. Evil was already there. And Satan chose to do evil. Well, how do you choose to do evil if evil ain't there? You see what I'm saying? And there are many scriptures that speak about that and break that down. So again, thou was perfect in thy days from the day that thou wast created till iniquity was found in thee. By the multitude of thy merchandise they have filled the midst of thee with violence, and thou hast sinned. Therefore I will cast thee as profane out of the mountain of God, out of the kingdom of God. And I will destroy thee, O covering cherub, from the midst of the stones of fire. Stones of fire. Saltpeter. Salt of a rock. And salt deals with fire. Thine heart was lifted up because of thy beauty. Thou hast corrupted thy wisdom by reason of thy brightness. I will cast thee to the ground. I will lay thee before kings, that they may behold thee. Thou hast defiled thy sanctuaries by the multitudes of thy iniquities, by the iniquity of thy commerce. That's why God said the love of money, because what you can do with money, you can live out the desires of your heart. Therefore will I bring forth a fire from the midst of thee. A fire from the midst of thee. It shall devour thee. Spontaneous combustion, pretty much. What we call spontaneous combustion. And I will bring thee to ashes upon the earth in the sight of all them that behold thee. Just in case you don't believe it's what we call spontaneous combustion. Look what Jesus says. Ye are the salt of the earth. Now when you go look salt up in its context, you're always going to see something dealing with sea. You're going to see salt and you're going to see sea. You're going to see salt and you're going to see the sea. Ye are the salt of the earth. Ye are the sea of the earth. You are the waters of the earth. Because without water, there's no life. You are the life of the earth. But if the salt have lost his Savior, wherewith shall it be salted? It is thenceforth good for nothing but to be cast out and to be trodden under foot of men. Ye are the light of the world. Now, why in the world would he mention salt and then mention light pretty much in the same sentence? Because he's saying the same thing. And once you get the wisdom and understand what's really going on, then it makes more sense. Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick. And it giveth light unto all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. But now, after that ye have known God, or rather are known of God, how turn ye again to the weak and beggarly elements, whereunto ye desire again to be in bondage? Then we read something about the gas and its correlation with the spirits. The gases are made up of elements. And a lot of these gods, they are over these elements and they manipulate them. And they keep people in bondage to worship them. And God is saying, why would you want to go back to this? Why would you want to go back to being in bondage to the weak and beggarly elements? When you have the creator of the elements, the creator of the gods. You see what I'm saying? And you hath he quickened, who were dead in trespasses and sins, where in time past ye walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience, among whom also we all had our conversation in times past in the lusts of our flesh, fulfilling the desires of the flesh and of the mind, and were by nature the children of wrath, even as others. But God, who is rich in mercy, for his great love wherewith he loved us, even when we were dead in sins, hath quickened us together with Christ. By grace ye are saved, and hath raised us up together, and made us sit together in heavenly places. Plural, emphasis on the S. Has made us to sit together in heavenly places. Plural, in Christ Jesus. This is the interesting thing right here for me, what he says after that. Let me get a swig of this water. After he says, he said, this is the reason I'm doing this. Well, one of the reasons, not the main reason, but in the context, he says, this is what he says, that in the ages to come. So God raised us up together with Christ. That in the ages, in the worlds, because you can look that word up, ages, also another word for worlds. In the worlds to come, he might show the exceeding riches of his grace and his kindness toward us through Christ Jesus. So what did he just tell us? He told us many things right there, but one thing that I do want to mention is he told us. He pretty much said that in the worlds to come, those of us who are resurrected from the dead in Christ, through the gospel, the blessings that he's going to pour out on us, and everything that we went through right now, we went through and we're going through, it's going to serve as a testimony of God's grace. So when they say, well, if somebody, let's say somebody has an argument about God not being graceful, or he ain't that graceful. Well, what do you expect? Have you forgotten what happened? So we will always be there serving as a testimony of God's grace, because God's grace that he is pouring out today has never been poured out the way it is. That's what he said. So if anybody has a question about God's grace, they go my people right there. They serve as a testimony of my grace that I had. They'll tell you what happened. That's powerful. Let me ask you this. Did you know that all the elements are named after gods or something associated with them? Thorium. Did you know that all the elements are named after gods or something associated with them? It may not be a direct connection where you can say, oh, that's this god, but it's associated with some type of god or something with him. Why is that? All the elements. And did you know, but let me bring it back into your remembrance. Each element has a number attached to it. I wonder if Christ said, why would you want to go back to the beggarly elements? He said, count the number of the beast, for the number of the beast is the number of a man. He's the beast because he became the beast. But he's a man. He's a man. So what happens is this. Seat felt wet. What happens is this. Remember we talked about the waters above and the waters below and the firmament being in the middle. In the middle, when somebody comes from above and they're coming in, they have to go through the firmament to get to the lower level waters that's below the firmament where we at. So in that middle more so, that's mostly where a lot of your gods are. We talk about the prince of the power of the air. That's where most of the gods are. Not saying they're not below that, but a lot of them, they're dwelling in that realm, which makes sense because when we looked at the word, what was it? Was it chaos? No, firmament. Remember we looked at the word firmament and it dealt with statues, customs, laws, and throne. And we said, why would that be a definition of that? Well, now you understand. So when, again, something comes in, they have to go, pretty much have to go through them first. And then they can come through. So there's a lot of fighting that's going on up in that area, that middle area. I'm going to prove it to you. Then said he unto me, fear not, Daniel, for from the first day that thou didst set thine heart to understand, and to chasten thyself before thy God, thy words were heard, and I am come for thy words. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days. So the angels come and say, hey, from the first day you said the prayer, I was coming to deliver it, but in his understanding, so Daniel could understand it, it took him 21 days to get through because the prince of Persia, he was holding him back. The prince of Persia wasn't fighting him yet. He was holding him back. It's kind of like, hey, let me see your papers. Okay. Let me see this. Let me see that. We got to confirm it. We got to make sure. They were delaying him. He was like, look, I got to go. Y'all know I'm legit. Let me through. But they weren't letting him through. Now, this is an angel of the Lord, and the angel of the Lord couldn't even get past the prince of Persia. For 21 days, he said, but lo, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me. Listen what he said after that, because this is important. He says, and I remained there with the kings of Persia. So the kings of Persia wouldn't even let him leave when he came in. When he came in, they knew, because they got the authority. They know he coming to earth. They like, oh. You got to check in. Let me see your minute. Let me see your papers. All right. Well, we got to do some other stuff. So they wouldn't even let him go for 21 days. And then Michael's like, hey, what's, you know. Then Michael had to come because Michael had higher authority than he did to get him out of there. And then he was able to deliver the message. Then he goes on and says, now I am come to make thee understand what shall befall thy people in the latter days. They didn't want the word to get to him. For yet the vision is for many days. Then said he, knowest thou wherefore I come unto thee? So he said, you understand what's going on? And now, watch it. And now will I return to fight with the prince of Persia. And when I am gone forth, lo, the prince of Grecia shall come. So at first he wasn't fighting him because they were holding him. They wouldn't let him go. And Michael had to come and help him out to get him out of there. Then he came and he delivered the message. Because how you gonna fight when he got to deliver the message first? Then after he delivered the message, then he went and he fought. He was like, okay, now I didn't do what I had to do. Now I'm going to fight. And so all this is taking place in that space. I ain't saying it ain't taking place in other places, but more so right here when they're coming down. So when you came into this earth, when you were sent, because everybody has a star attached to them, just like Christ. Everybody has a star attached to them. When you were coming in, they didn't want you to come like, oh, whoa, where the papers at? Where the papers? And they didn't got so wicked now. A lot of people that are coming in, you know what they're doing? In the physical realm, they're being aborted. So they found the way. Okay, they're coming in, and they don't necessarily know who is who right off top. Certain people they do, certain people they don't really know. But that's for another sermon. When they're coming in, now they're like, well, if we can just abort as many as we can, then we ain't got to worry about really who is who. We can get so many abortions, then we know we've decreased how many soldiers are going to come. You see what I'm saying? So then all we got to do is deal with the ones that do make it, because it's easy to deal with them than to deal with, all the ones that are coming, and deal with the ones that are already here on earth too. So they set that up like that. So going back to our initial point, radioactive decay is the process by which an unstable atomic nucleus loses energy by radiation. A material containing unstable nuclei is considered radioactive. So people are literally radioactive because they're decaying so much and giving all this energy. They're killing people in the progress. They're going nuclear bombs going off. 3 of the most common types of decay are alpha decay, beta decay, and gamma decay, all of which involve emitting one or more particles or photons. Now, for those who have been around for a while and you have watched the videos and been in class, you know I've mentioned the photons. Why are the photons important? For those who don't know, and as a refresher course, because your DNA has photons, biophotons. And I told you, everything you do, your DNA is literally taking a snapshot of it. And what they found out is that they thought that the biophotons, that they only gave off a little bit of light. But when they shine more light upon the DNA and the biophoton, looking at it on that color spectrum, the biophoton, they lit up even more. And they also found out that the biophoton, when they taking them snapshots, what they're doing is like a beacon. Beep, 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 beep. Everything that the biophoton is taking a snapshot of, biophoton, it was sending it back somewhere. It was sending it back. Now, they say it was just, it was communicating with other nervous systems and communicating with the body. But those biophotons, when they're taking those snapshots of everything going on in your body, it's not only communicating with this one over here, but it's also acting as a beacon. So when God is talking about that you will give an account of everything you have done, it's already recorded because a photo snapshot been taken. So it's like a movie, it's like a picture book. And so it'd be able to be played back and say, hey, this is you right here. So I want to make sure I define this. A photon, by definition, y'all excuse me, I've been preaching for a while. A photon, by definition, is a unit of electromagnetic radiation. It consists of two words: photo, which is where we get it from, and on, with a little dash in the front of it. That when you get a dash in front of it, it means unit. It means unit. So photon is two words: photo and then the on. Guess what photo means? Light. So we talk about biophoton, you're talking about a biological light unit. A biological light unit, a BLU. So again, so when we say take my photo, we are literally saying take an image of my light, because that's exactly what we're doing. Think about that. So when we take that picture, snapshot, it's recorded. Our body is doing the same thing. It's taking snapshot, so fast we can't even, it's happening so fast we can't even keep up with it. Taking snapshots. Also, we look at the word in its deeper context. It says it's an act or process of emitting light, a shining, radiation, to beam, shine, gleam, make beaming, the act of spreading outward from a central source. The act of spreading outward from a central source. That's another definition of radiation or radioactive. So I want to read something interesting to y'all about biophotons, and we get ready to close it out. Biophotons, or ultra-weak photon emissions of biological systems, are weak electromagnetic waves, vibes, in the optical range of the spectrum. In other words, light. All living cells of plants, animals, and human beings emit biophotons which cannot be seen by the naked eye, but can be measured by special equipment developed by German researchers. These particles of light, stored in our cells, as well as ejected and replaced, form our bodies at varying speeds, quantities, at various points of the human body. According to the biophoton theory, which ain't really a theory or whatever, but you gotta have a theory in science. According to the biophoton theory developed on the base of the discoveries, the biophoton light is stored in the cells of the organism, more precisely in the DNA molecules of their nuclei, in a dynamic web of light constantly released and absorbed by the DNA may connect cell organelles, cells, tissues, and organs within the body and serve as the organism's main communication network and as the principal regulating instance for all life processes. Did you get that? If not, pause it and go listen to it again. The biophotons store information in the DNA molecules, and it uses light to communicate with the other parts of the body, the rest of the body. Why do you think Christ said that? He said, try the spirit by the spirit. We get the spirit through the light, and the light is the gospel. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. So if he's a light, then what does it matter if the darkness doesn't comprehend it? Because if it's just darkness he's talking about, wouldn't the darkness comprehend Christ because he made it? Tie the pieces together. Put the pieces together, y'all. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. The same came for a witness, to bear witness of the light, that all men through him might believe. He was not that light, but was sent to bear witness of that light. That was the true light, which lighteth Christ, every man that cometh into the world. So we talk about the biophotons, and they send the signal back, beep, 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 beep. They're sending it back to the source. Rather they are saved or not saved. And Christ is the source, which is why they have to give an account to Christ. So, positive vibes only. Science has destroyed positive vibes only. Destroyed it. These people are leading you astray. And the crazy thing is, it's just crazy. I'm going to shut it down because I can be here for a whole nother hour talking. But with that being said, God bless each and every one of you. In Jesus Christ's name, as always, stay focused for Jesus. And as you know, the truth is not debated, it is declared.